Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this town hall for UNC Asheville. We're pleased to be able to be with you today virtually. And I want to introduce my colleagues who will be speaking and answering questions as well. Provost Campbell is here with us. Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, Bill Haggard. Vice Chancellor for Human Resources, Institutional Equity and General Counsel, Heather Parlier. And by phone, Isaiah Green, who is president of the UNC Asheville Student Government Association. And I'm very thrilled to report to you that he has been now nominated and elected as president of the UNC System Association of Student Governments for the forthcoming academic year. Thanks for joining us, Isaiah. Well, I'm happy to give you an update at this point on where we stand with issues related to our employees, our students, our faculty, staff, and the campus at large as we move from emergency stopgap measures that we have been implementing over the last 2 to 3 weeks to what I would say is now a continuity of work, of a sort of new normal that all of us are adjusting to. While we've made many decisions that we hope have been holding high the preference for health and safety of all of our faculty, staff, and students, many decisions have not yet been made. And particularly as we lean into these early days in April, we are working very hard to discern what the financial implications of this will be, what the spread of the virus will mean for all of us and those of us we know across the United States and the world, and what the duration of various state laws and emergency declarations will mean for our opportunity to return to normal operations. Online teaching continues, and Provost Campbell will tell you more about that and also answer the questions that you've submitted. We will be online for summer session. You'll hear more about that, but I want to give a shout out first and foremost to our teaching faculty who have made Herculean efforts to move all of our classes online, not just for the completion of spring semester, but also for the summer semester ahead of us. I'm thrilled to report that the students and faculty in our STEAM studio have been making face shields, now up to several hundred, moving toward over 1,000. We anticipate going to hospitals in our region and across the East Coast. Our students have continued to access the services of Jay Kutzbach and counseling staff in the health and counseling area. And students, we are delighted that you have made use of these resources as we face this difficult time together. Our outreach efforts to the class of 2024 newly admitted to the university continue. While we were not able to have an on-campus admitted student day, we have had a virtual admitted student day, which I hear has gone very well. And to our newly admitted class and our newly admitted transfer students, we look forward to welcoming you in the fall. As you will hear from Provost Campbell, we continue to be concerned about the rescheduling of graduation. As a senior team and the faculty leaders on campus, we are deeply committed to ensuring that you have a time together to celebrate your success and walk across the stage. More on that in a minute. Our athletic program has been deeply affected by the complete stoppage by NCAA rules and the loss of revenue around the men's and women's basketball programs across the nation. We will learn in the next month or two exactly what that means for us, though we are very pleased that our student athletes and our coaches are doing well and in good shape. Camps and conferences that were scheduled for this summer will continue after July 1 if the decision is made on May 2nd to continue those camps and conferences. So now we are hopeful. We're in a holding pattern. We do hope that we'll be able to reopen campus July 1st for the camps and conferences programs, but that decision will be made, as I just mentioned, in early May. Our chief our chief emergency officer, David Weldon, along with Chief Eric Boyce, have been working with FEMA in case our Kimmel Arena is needed for additional overflow facilities for non-COVID hospital patients if and when Mission would run out of space. We are thrilled with the partnership we've had with both the county and the city that includes both this opportunity to use Kimmel if needed and the volunteer food delivery service that many of our students have been involved in. These are difficult and very challenging times for us, for all of you, and we are all in this together. Let me now move to a couple of questions that you had already submitted. We received well over 75 questions on the Google forum, and we have compiled them into 4 categories, one related to general financial and university questions, some related to academic affairs that Provost Campbell will handle, some related to students and student life and residence life that will be handled by Vice Chancellor Haggard, and our human resources questions will be covered by Vice Chancellor Parlier. So here we go with our first couple of questions. One was this: please describe the financial crisis that we may face in detail and what options you are considering for dealing with it together with the UNC system. One person added to this question, many colleges are releasing detailed information. What is the scenario that we face? Well, at this point, the truth is that we have a lot of unknowns in the financial sphere. We do know that the decision has been made across all 17 institutions in the UNC system to refund housing and dining refunds effective on March 16th. Other shortfalls that we have, for example, in summer revenues and in revenues lost over the course of this last 2 or 3 months, we believe that we will see a flow of funds that will come to all UNC system schools, both from the federal government and the state government. We have no idea what criteria will be laid into the dispensation of those funds, and we will learn that sometime in the next month to 6 weeks. Another question: how will the university make up for budget shortfalls, and is there any fundraising going on? I'm pleased to tell you that a number of you, faculty, staff, and students, some of your parents, and many of our alumni have given to the annual fund to support 3 particular specified funds of immediate help, particularly for our students and our faculty. The first is a technology fund that allows us to ensure that everyone who needs to be online can be online for learning. A second one is for food insecurity. Many of our students who are still here but living in apartments have lost their jobs due to the restrictions in restaurants and the hospitality industry here in Asheville. As such, many of those students are having trouble paying their rent and paying for food. And so many of you have given to a food bank and to the food security fund for our students, and we are grateful. The third one is general help for what we may find as shortfalls in our operations or revenues, and that we can be helped by direct contributions to the annual fund. So far, fundraising for this fiscal year has gone at a good clip. We've just passed $10 million in the annual fund. Most of it was used, as you know, for scholarships and for faculty endowed professorships. Any of you inclined to give can do so right on the website for UNC Asheville. Another question: is there any indication about or if we will continue online-based instruction into the fall semester? What is expected? Our sense of this is that we are looking forward to gathering as an academic community again in the fall, and that we will go back to in-person instruction in our classrooms on campus, fully operational as your university as soon as possible. We cannot dictate this because we do not understand what the future spread of the virus and the continuing challenges that that issue provides us can be worked out in time for that. What we've heard from the state system is that sometime in May or early June, decisions will be made as to whether we will be in person or online continuing for the fall. We will be expected to provide both forms of learning so that we can move to in-person instruction if possible, or stay online if we must do that. Another question: have you considered reducing summer tuition fees due to their online and remote nature? For those of you who have checked on prices, you will see that online instruction, particularly for the summer, is already reduced. The distance learning rate is available on the website. And so we're doing everything we can in these tough economic times with job losses of parents and our students to make our education as affordable as possible. We will continue to work with students on financial aid needs through the summer and our summer instruction online and into the fall as needed. Another question, do we have any idea how long our campus buildings will remain locked? Due to the emergency order given to all of us by the state governor, we have to remain locked and closed up so that our facilities stay clean. We have not had any COVID cases on our campus among our faculty and staff or a student. We had one student test positive for COVID who had not been on campus since before spring break. This student is a non-traditional age student, lives off campus. And so that is the only person that we know in our community who has been affected with a positive confirmation. But it is important that we keep the campus secure so that when we are able to return to in-person instruction, camps and conferences, activities, co-curricular life, that our buildings will be ready for that return. So buildings will remain locked through the course of from this point in time through to July 1, and then we'll be reassessing this, of course, in May. Let me now turn to the academic affairs questions and ask Provost Campbell to proceed from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor Cable. The first question is, what will be happening with commencement? How can the graduating seniors have input? And when will we be getting our caps and gowns? We know how important commencement is, and we've been exploring options for how to have a celebratory moment as soon as possible and the best way possible. Ideally, we'll be in a position to have an in-person event, but also want to explore a virtual option. Sometime today, you'll be receiving an email from the registrar's office asking you to complete a Google form. That form will ask your opinion about 3 options: an August 1 commencement, a December 12th commencement, and a virtual commencement. So for any in-person commencement, we would expect to work with the local hotels to find discounted options for family and friends. If we have the commencement on August 1st, it's important to note that we would expect to be able to provide housing for students free of charge in the residence halls. In addition to asking feedback about these options, the same form will give you an opportunity to give us some information about your commencement regalia, where to have your cap and gown shipped, and the size of your gown. We're working with our vendor to have the regalia shipped directly to your home. And it is important to note that the vendor may ask again for that same information, mailing address and size. If they do, please complete their form as well. Second question, how will summer courses be held and when will they be held? We will indeed have summer courses this term. All courses will be delivered online and registration is now open. There will be 3 4-week sessions, Maymester, which will run from Monday, May 11th through Friday, June 5th. Session 1 from Monday, June 8th to Thursday, July 2nd. Session 2, Monday, July 6th to Friday, July 31st. In addition to those 3 4-week sessions, we will have 1 6-week session. Session 3 runs from Monday, June 8th to Friday, July 17th. And 1 8-week session, Session 4, running from Monday, June 8th to Friday, July 31st. Each of those times and that information is available in their usual place. And let me reiterate that something that Chancellor Cable said. The cost for these courses follows the distance education rate. And so for in-state students, in-resident students, the rate is about half of the face-to-face rate. We'll be offering a full selection of offerings, including humanities and liberal arts core requirement courses. So please take a look at the offerings and register for summer courses. Are there accommodations available for students who are struggling with online or remote learning? There are two different issues with respect to this question. On the one hand, there may be students who are experiencing barriers to learning in this new format based on disabilities. In addition, we know that any student can have difficulty with this format generally, and some may be having particular challenges with this format as a result of the many other things that are going on right now. In each case, I would direct you to reach out to both your faculty and to Carolyn Ogburn, the Director of Accessibility Services, as soon as you can. Together, you working in conjunction with Carolyn Ogburn and your faculty should be able to work through solutions that are matched to your particular challenges. So please reach out to them. Have professors been asked to be charitable in grading? In addition to my many conversations with faculty, chairs, program directors, and others, many others are sharing the need to be understanding of the current situation and the many pressures impacting students at this time. There is no direct mandate to be, quote unquote, charitable, but rather to be understanding. I certainly hope that this is translating in ways that students can feel, but I would certainly invite you to reach out to your faculty and discuss any struggles you may be having as a result of this situation. If you feel that you want to talk to someone other than the faculty member, please feel free to direct your questions to provost@unca.edu, and we can be sure to direct the issue as needed. How does the whole pass-fail grading work? Faculty are being asked to submit grades for every one of their courses and for every student. Students will have the option to convert any grade to an S for satisfactory, for any grade that is a D or better, or have the option of withdrawing from the course and earning a W. That option will open up for 2 weeks after the grades are reported. So from May 8th through May 22nd. Students can choose this on a course-by-course basis. It is not a whole all or none situation. Any grade that you want to keep in the graded format, you may do so. Any course that you want converted, you'll be able to do that in that 2-week window. With many schools moving to a pass-fail grading system, will UNC Asheville accept pass credit from previous institutions for transfer students next year? We are working through this issue right now, anticipating that we will be able to say, yes, we will accept pass credit as universally as possible. These issues are bound up in agreements that are, in some cases, system-wide UNC policies, in some cases, articulation agreements with community colleges. And so the registrars are all engaged in conversation now across the UNC system and with community colleges about various aspects of this and how to make this work. Again, I anticipate that while it might not be completely universal for every single situation, we will be able to accept almost all pass credit. We will share more about this as soon as we can, hopefully within the next 2 weeks. Will the required number of hours for internships be reduced? Our current policy indicates that in order to receive credit for internship work, there needs to be at least 35 hours of internship work for each credit assigned. We will likely not be changing that requirement, but rather there are at least 2 ways faculty are addressing this issue, presuming that the opportunity to continue the work of the internship remotely is not an option. First, internship work can be shifted to more project-based work, where the projects are either determined by the organization with which you were originally working or determined by the faculty member, or both. The time spent working on a project can serve in the place of time spent in the internship, even if it is being done asynchronously. Second, internship work can be simply replaced by more traditional academic work, papers and other assignments, for example. I would ask that students work with the faculty on options that make the most sense for the particular internship that has now been disrupted or discontinued. How will undergraduate research symposium take place within the remote format? Spring symposium abstracts are in fact already available from the undergraduate research welcome page. Presenters and faculty advisors have been asked to submit links to presentation materials. Those may be poster PDFs, narrated slides, videos, or other digital materials. All of those materials are being asked for by April 16th if possible, and being uploaded to the undergraduate research welcome page and to their schedule. The actual symposium will still take place on Tuesday, April 21st, and will be done completely digitally. Please see that the undergraduate research webpage for details on how to view the presentations for each person. Will you add a section to the teacher course evaluations at the end of this semester for students to tell their experience with the coronavirus pandemic? The form for student feedback on instruction has already been modified. It will be shared at the usual time, but will consist of fewer, more open-ended questions and questions specifically about the student's experience since spring break. Importantly, about the transition to online instruction. When might we expect refunds from study abroad experiences that did not move forward? For any student who is expecting to participate in a faculty-led summer abroad experience this summer, the Study Abroad Office expects to complete refunds by next week. For any student who participated in study abroad this semester and had to return before completing their experience, there may either be a refund or a credit for a future term. The Study Abroad Office expects to complete this work by next week as well. Any programs that were not faculty-led programs for which refunds are not handled, any programs that are not faculty-led programs are programs that are not handled by UNCA. And so I would ask you to consult with Bonnie Parker in the Study Abroad Office to try to get the best information possible from the appropriate provider about when those refunds will be available. Will campus be open during the summer for student research? While we expect research activity at the university to remain active in many ways, we do not anticipate being able to have the physical campus available during the summer. That concludes the set of questions for academic affairs, and I think I'm turning it over to my colleague, Bill Haggard.
Thank you, Provost Campbell, and good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be with you virtually, but I want to open by saying, students, we miss you on campus and can't wait until that day comes when we can all be together again. I'd also like to again open by thanking our students for your patience and your flexibility and your resilience as we move through all of this together. There were many questions, and most of those questions had to do with refunds. And as the Chancellor said in her opening comments, we will be refunding housing and dining fees on a prorated basis starting on March 16th, with some exceptions to individual cases. And I'll get into that in a little more detail in a minute. There will not be any other refunds of any other tuition and fees, just housing and dining fees. So there have been questions about why the March 16th date and how was that chosen, and why wasn't it not March 12th when we first reached out to our resident students asking them to leave because of the pandemic. March 16th is the first day after spring break. Spring break is a time when there is not a dining program on the campus during those days, and also housing during spring break. Those who elected to stay were doing so not at a cost to them. Your housing fee covers your housing costs for the days that we are in session throughout the year. So that's why we chose the date of Monday, March 16th, as that was the first day after spring break. There's also questions about those who were granted exceptions to stay. We have a small number who had extenuating circumstances and requested for the opportunity to stay in our university housing, but some of those, after a few days or after a couple of weeks, decided then to leave and live elsewhere. For those of you who were granted exceptions, your housing refund and your dining refund will be based on that date that you left for good. So there will be a lot of individual cases there. Associate Vice Chancellor Nancy Yeager has gone through every single residential student and their individual cases and based their refund on their individual situations. So we're grateful to Nancy and also the work of Jory Beer on that effort. Questions about meal plan and how the meal plan refunds are calculated. Will it be based on the number of meals or declining balance? As you know, there are 5 different types of residential meal plans, and each meal plan has a different portion of swiped meals in the dining hall versus the amount of declining balance. For the swiped meals in the dining hall, that refund will be based prorated on the number of days you were not here. Going back to March 16th again, unless you were one of the unique students that had a different date. The declining balance will be a refund of whatever remaining declining balance you have. So that's how the dining refunds will be calculated. There were also questions about how the refunds will actually happen and when they will occur. Our finance folks, along with our housing folks, have been working hard to get through all these data in the calculation of the refunds. We don't anticipate the refunds happening before the next 2 weeks, but most likely they will happen within the next 30 days. So again, if you could continue to exercise patience as you have already, that's when we anticipate that you will receive your refunds, hopefully within the next 30 days. The method by which the refunds will be returned to you will be first through applying those funds to your account, and then the remainder would come to you. There will be more details on exactly the mechanics of that as we get closer to that date, and there will be communication with you about that. There have been a lot of questions related specifically to parking fees, and again, I have to go back to the opening statement that the only refunds we will be doing are for the housing and dining for residential students. Those students who do not live on campus or do not live on campus, there will not be any refunds for you. Other questions, one very, very specific question was about a barricade. Could that barricade be removed behind Governor's Hall in that loop there? The reason that barricade existed in the loop behind Governor's Hall, that was for the 2-week period when students came back to get their belongings, and that barricade was there to keep the fire lane open, to protect the safety of all involved. That has since been removed, and that should not be a problem anymore. Another question was, if students currently living off campus find themselves living in a dangerous environment or a difficult situation, would they be able to come back to campus with permission? Again, just like the exceptions we have already made, those exceptions will be very rare. If you have a situation that you can consider to be an extreme extenuating circumstances, you are welcome to reach out to our Dean of Students who is handling those exceptions, but we anticipate that those exceptions will be very rare. The reason for that rarity is, again, the reminder of the reason that we had to ask you to move out of our residence halls, and that's for the purpose of social distancing, for the purpose of eliminating gatherings of people, and there would be an increased risk now if we were to begin to take students back on campus after being in different environments, especially those environments where there may have been a greater risk for exposure to the virus. So the answer is that it's unlikely, but if you feel that you really have an extreme case, we welcome you to bring that extreme case to us through our Dean of Students, Jackie McCarg. Another question has been related to our student mail services in our mail room located in Highsmith Union. Can I get my packages in the mail room emailed to me, or mailed to me? Yes, you may. Questions about that can be sent through email to Student Mail Services. That's all one word, all lowercase, Student Mail Services at unca.edu, or you can call 828-251-6600, which is our Highsmith Union Information Desk, 6600. You may call them and they may respond to your specific questions about student mail as well. That covers all the questions we have at this time. So I will turn it over to Vice Chancellor Parlier.
Thank you. And thank you everybody who's joining us today. I want to specifically thank all of our employees, our faculty, our staff, our student employees, and our temporary employees who are keeping the university open and keeping us able to do the important work that we all do. So our questions related to HR really were focused on, are we going to be cutting salaries, eliminating jobs temporarily or permanently? Are we going to be doing layoffs, or are furloughs being considered? And so, you know, as all of you who are employees of UNC Asheville may know, we are currently asking for a senior staff level approval for any new hires of any type of employee for any position at the university. But right now we're not contemplating any COVID-related furloughs or terminations. As Chancellor said, there are many unknowns regarding our finances, but we really anticipate returning to our pre-pandemic operations as soon as it's responsible for us to do so. There was also a question about whether our retirement contributions would be reduced or eliminated. So our retirement contributions, whether you're enrolled in teasers or with an ORP, are really determined by the UNC system. And I can tell you, I have UNC system level calls frequently, and that's not something that has been discussed or contemplated. Those are the questions related to human resources.
Thank you all. We have 2 additional questions that have come in through the chat. They are both for academic affairs. The first question is, could you please repeat the information about caps and gowns and when seniors can expect to receive them?
So caps and gowns, so you should expect an email, maybe even later today, or maybe even have it in your mailboxes now, about a form that links to a form that will ask you for some information. That information we are collecting. It is basically where to send your cap and gown and your gown size. We are working with the vendor as well, and so either through that form or through the vendor's form directly, we'll make sure that we're sending the information, sending the caps and gowns directly from the vendor to your homes as soon as the vendor has that information and can begin shipping. So I don't know the exact details on when to expect arrival, but we are beginning that process of collecting the information and getting those materials sent out to you, the regalia sent out to you now, this week.
The other question for academic affairs, and we have a couple more that have come in. Provost Campbell, do we have access to physical books from the library at this time?
That's a great question, and frankly, I'm not sure I recall the answer from, this was a question that was raised in the last town hall, and so let me find out more about that. I believe that there may be some information on the library's webpage about physical access. I do know that access to physical books. What I do know is that if you have books and need to return them, the due date has been extended, and we can certainly accept books being sent to us via mail. What I don't know is whether or not we can provide books via mail or some other means. I will look into that and try to get an answer to folks as soon as possible.
This question is for Vice Chancellor Haggard. Could you please reiterate the information related to any reimbursements on parking passes?
Yes, there will not be any refund on parking fees.
Those are all of the additional questions at this time.
Isaiah, thanks for joining us today. And again, we congratulate you on your statewide honor of being chosen as the leader of the Association of Student Governments. Thanks for being with us. Do you want to add anything, or also ask a question or answer anything that you've heard? Isaiah, I think you're still, oh, there you are. Yay, great. Do you wish to add anything, Isaiah?
I just want to say that I'm really grateful that we've been able to do these virtual meetings and town halls and continue these conversations, not just the ones that we're having with the public, but also internally with UNC Asheville, with student government, with our faculty senate, and continuing these shared governance components really brings faith that we're going to be able to continue to bring out the best solutions and come back in the fall stronger than ever. So thank you.
Well, thanks for joining us today. Students and faculty, when we walk on campus at great social distance, it feels really empty. And so I reflect on Vice Chancellor Haggard's comment. We really do miss you. We also are aware that your lives may be very, very difficult at this point, whether that means keeping the class going that you're teaching online or tending to family and friends who may be either not feeling well or actually sick at this point. And we want you to know that you have the full support. We're cheering you on. We're grateful for all that you're doing in your own way and in your own lives to make a difference as we face this crisis. We are with you and we miss you. These are unprecedented times. I think the decisions that we will know more about over the next certainly 2 months, I'm hoping month to 6 weeks, will be financially related as we see some of the relief coming from the federal government and the state government and perhaps other places. So we hope to have another town hall sometime in that time frame, perhaps within the month ahead, as soon as we know more about those issues. I urge us now to continue to take care of those around us, take care of ourselves, do the work that we can do on behalf of the university to the best of our ability at this point, and most importantly, to lean together in these very, very trying times for this nation and for the globe. And so with that, we will sign off. We will see you again. Stay in touch. Reach out to any of us. We can get you in the right to the right place to get questions that you have answered. And thank you in every way for all that you are doing for UNC Asheville at this time. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.